Anyway, thank you to our listening audience. We have a group joining us today, Brother El Yosef. He teaches an ancient Phoenician Paleo Hebrew class, and members of his class are joining us today here on Watchman Reports and Redirecting. And we're going to be discussing a book that the brother has published. He has sent us several of these books to use in our own class with our children, our students, and so we thank him for these wonderful gifts. And so the book is called 911. I'll let you introduce the book, El Yosef.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sister Deborah and Watchman, for inviting me and having my students here. The book that I authored is 911 Ibaryath Rescue. I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
Yes.
Ancient Phoenician Paleo Hebrew. And this book is written to not only present the original script that the pre-captivity Hebrew scriptures were written in, but also to provide a way for people to learn vocabulary and to be able to do Hebrew word studies. So really everything that you need to have in order to get started with reading the ancient manuscripts is right here in this book. It's not a lexicon, it's a step below a lexicon, but it's something that's very manageable, that anybody can pick it up and actually go through it and learn.
Yes, and we can see there's lots of information here for students to learn, just as the brother is stating. And we are so grateful to have received these. We really appreciate it. We've been trying to do this interview for some time now, so we're finally able to bring this here. And so we wanted to hear more about what your class involves for those who may be interested in linking up with you all after this broadcast.
Yes. Can you give us a little of your background history?
My personal background? Sure.
As far as what you're doing with the Hebrews teaching and school.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you want.
Oh yeah, I was saying a little of your background history as far as your how did you get into teaching Hebrew and.
Okay, sure. Actually, I got into teaching Hebrew because I wrote a biochemistry book, and I represented the enzymes as icons, like icons on a computer. I'm a medical doctor by training. And when I was in medical school, one of the most difficult things for me was to take these abstract concepts like an enzyme that have these very complicated shapes, you could never remember them, right?
Right.
So what I did was made them into icons, something that I saw every day and that I was very familiar with so I could remember. And then for some reason, I don't know how it happened, I started learning Hebrew. And it was really complicated because at that time I didn't know about the Ibaryath. I only knew about the modern Hebrew.
Yes.
Okay.
So I decided that I would try to simplify the Hebrew, and eventually I learned about the Ibaryath. But of course, the Ibaryath, as I came to find out, is a big secret. People are not talking about it.
I think you've broken up. Could you repeat the last
statement? Sure.
For some reason, you froze up right there.
So what I was saying is that I was learning the modern Hebrew, and the Ibaryath, as I learned more, I discovered that the Ibaryath, the Phoenician Hebrew, is a secret. Like, people are not talking about it, but this is actually the original script that the pre-captivity scriptures were written in. What I also found out is that a lot of the camps are teaching this in their schools. And I came to learn about it because there was someone who was involved in a camp eventually she got tired of me always asking, and she finally told me about the Ibaryath. And once I got that lead, I started to study and discover more information, like the lexicons, encyclopedic information, and stuff like that. And I was able to compile everything together and put it into this book so that anybody who wants to learn it can learn it. You don't have to join a camp. There are some people who, from what I understand, who teach it, but you have to prove that you're a member of their tribe. This is a Native American tribe.
Okay.
If you're not a member, or if you can't prove that you're a member of that tribe, they won't teach you.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
So this is, you guys have probably heard of the Ibaryath before, but most people have not heard of the Phoenician, the ancient Phoenician Paleo Hebrew.
Well, actually, when we received the books from you, this is the first that we've heard of this. And so we were, again, very, very grateful to receive these and to be able to utilize these as well for ourselves and our children. And so you're presenting this to us for the first time. We knew about the ancient Paleo Hebrew text. We knew about all of that. But when you say Ibaryath, that's a new terminology that we were unfamiliar with.
Oh yeah, that's the original way to pronounce it, Ibaryath.
Okay.
It actually comes from Eber, one of Abraham's forefathers. So
I kind of figured that because of the way it looks, but
Yes.
the terminology Ibaryath, that was the first we heard of that. But by a process of elimination, we kind of figured that it had something to do with Eber or Ibo or Ivory, all of that. So there's so much to learn with our new culture being reintroduced to us. It seems all new to us, but it's an ancient culture for us. And coming back around to it is always very interesting to learn new and greater things.
Yeah, and that was one of my real motivations, because I said, okay, we have to have our own language if we're going to be a nation. Every nation has its own language. And so here we are with our own language, but we were sitting on it, or it was being hidden from us, or at least not shared with us, on a mass level. So that really, really inspired me to bring this to our people so that they can learn it. And the class that I'm teaching, the 911 Ancient Phoenician Paleo Hebrew course, is free. It's an 8-week course. Our class is Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. So anybody who wants to learn is welcome to learn. We're almost halfway through this class. So I'm going to offer another class. Maybe I'll teach 2, or depending on if there's a demand for it, I'll pick up another one. And we'll start from class 1 all the way through 16.
Okay. So since we have some of your students on the broadcast with us, would any of you like to talk about your experience with learning the 911 Ibaryath rescue from the textbook? Would any of you want to speak on that?
I'll jump in.
Go first.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead, sis. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is Shermel. My experience with the class so far has actually been great, because when we started the class, I did not know what to expect. I expected it to be very difficult because again, it's something new, and if you're going not knowing anything, but the way he introduced the class by us actually starting with understanding idioms and looking at it from a cultural aspect of language, and understanding what a concrete and abstract, and what we're actually these pictographs that we're looking at is stuff that our ancient ancestors were actually looking at and that actually told us what that letter represented. What, whatever they saw is whatever these pictograph represented. So it became very precise in what the Most High was saying with something. So we didn't have to guess anymore. And one of the things that I can tell from us losing this way of, this language is, I saw how Christianity had made it so confusing, because every denomination is saying, well, we believe this because of this, and we believe this because my denomination says so, or my pastor says so. But when you look at it from the ancient script, you can see that everything is very precise. What the Most High said, this is what He meant. It didn't. There was no gray areas in the scriptures with the pictographs.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
What He says is what He does.
Who do we have speaking now?
This is Mizelle, and I would like to add something. Basically, this class has been really good. It's stressful for some because it's new, of course, but just learning that the difference between what we've been taught, in English. In English, our letters have a sound. In Hebrew, the letters have a meaning. So it just gives you a deeper understanding that, like, some of the stuff we're saying, we don't even know what we're saying. These sounds have a meaning, and we don't understand the curses that we're putting on each other just with the words that we say, because we don't really know what they mean. Everything comes from this ancient Hebrew, our language that has been lost. So it's very interesting. It's good. We've met new people from different places. We're all from different places on different time zones, and we meet up, and it's very interesting. And I think that anybody that comes into the class will just enjoy the fellowshipping, because first of all, to want to learn Hebrew, a lot of people don't want to learn nothing. So, it's a special group, just learning the language. And Brother El, he has been very helpful. He's a good mentor. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, what you said, Sister Mizelle, makes a lot of sense. We are definitely saying things that we know not of because of this language that has been forced on us. And so it does make a lot of sense what you just said as relates to all of these sounds and things. I've seen a number of videos that talks about all of the many curses built into the English language.
Yes.
And this is why when we pray, we say, Abayah, please go according to the intents of my heart when I speak these words, because some of these things, I don't know what the means.
Yes, I know.
We don't know what we mean. So, Abayah, please look at the intents of our hearts, because this language has been forced on us, and we look forward to the day that He's going to restore unto us a pure language.
Yes, definitely.
Sister Deborah, can I ask one question? Comment about some. Could Adrian or Yehuda concrete compare and contrast what it means, what concrete means, and what abstract means, and how they relate to Hebrew, the original scriptures, and how it relates to what we see in translations?
Yes, please.
Talk.
Yeah, I just came in. Just want to be clear. I don't. I got just so I don't get lost. Concrete definitions as far as words and expressions that we could relate to as far as our five senses and how we interact with the world. Words that are not. I better explain with examples, but concrete expressions are things that we could understand with our five senses, something that we could feel, something we could touch, something we could smell. Whereas abstract thoughts of, it's in my heart, is very hard to explain in a real world kind of sense, and it leads to vague fantasy thought. And I don't remember what we were talking about. I just got in, so Someone me up. I'm sorry.
I got you, AJ. This Yahuda. Yeah. So to add to what he's saying, basically like the abstract, like when we deal with a lot of the philosophies and theories, that's abstract. It's abstract in the mind, but compared to the Hebrew, being that the language we actually deal with, the senses, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you touch it? Can you smell it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? And each thing that we named was such, versus like, so we have the English word I had wrote down, and this was a good one. It was like nice, right? So we've heard our whole lives, been taught to be nice, that's not nice. But when you actually go into the word and get the etymology of the word nice, it actually means to be ignorant of something, right? And it means to basically be gullible, be a doormat. Like literally when you look up the etymology to that word. So in that word, when we use that in the English, that word that's been put on us and we've been told to be nice, right? And we even teach this to our children. There's a bunch of boule going on in that word, some magic. So in the Hebrew, using a word, I don't know the word for nice, we haven't covered that, but in the Hebrew, the word would be use something to describe what the actual nice what we think it is. Yeah,
it means stupid.
Yeah, but it would be dealing with the senses, you know what I'm saying? Instead of, being stupid. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Yeah, that's good. So Yehuda, it would be the facial expression and the physiology of the person who you're looking at. So that's how our ancestors wrote the scriptures. That's how we view the world, through a concrete perspective. So, for example, Watchman and Sister Deborah, when our ancestors said slow to anger, like in one of the Psalms when they said the Most High is slow to anger, what that literally means, well, in the Greek or Western thought, you can't see anger, right? It's something that's in the mind.
Right.
Right? It means you have a rage or something like that. But our ancestors saw things in a concrete way. So what it meant is this: when a person is angry, the physiology changes. The nostrils begin to flare. The person begins to breathe very heavily and rapidly, right? They're angry or in a rage. So the literal meaning of the Most High is slow to anger is the Most High nose is slow to flare, right? The Most High's nose is slow to flare, but that makes no sense to people in the West or Greeks. But the Hebrew understanding of it is, it takes a whole lot for us to do that's wrong in order to make the Most High's nostrils flare at us. So it's a nuance, but it's very clear when you can adjust your mind to start thinking in concrete terms.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
And it helps us to better understand scripture, as some words that we know in English that have very hard to explain meanings, such as anger, love, hate. Those are words that describe a feeling, which describes an action in many ways. To hate something, you have to actively do something to show that you hate. And even when off head, the scriptures where it's like, greater those that do the commandments. The Lord is demanding an action from you. He's not demanding a feeling from you. So when he's saying, how do you love the Most High, or this is love, he's saying to keep his commandments, which is like do his commandments. So it's always referring to an action or something that we have to do and not something that we think or we feel, which I think leads to us misinterpreting scriptures. You hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, this, I think this means," or, "Well, I feel it. This is what they're trying to say," and that's not the way the scriptures are meant to be written. It's one interpretation and straightforward. It shouldn't be something that should be left to, well, I wonder, or I feel, or I think. That's more European ways of thinking, philosophizing. And
there's another good word we can look at, which is praise. When people in the West think about praise, they'll say praise God, and it's a real emotional thing, and it's all about their feelings. But in the Hebrew thought, when you look at the word praise, the two pictographs, we look at the ah, which is the ox head, and the la, which is the shepherd's staff. The ah means strength, right? The shepherd's staff means authority and toward. But when you put these two words together, if you're going to do a Hebrew word study, what you're going to find is that the man with his hands raised up, which is the ancient pictograph for the ox head, it's actually the man with his hands raised up like this. He's looking up into the sky at something amazing, something spectacular. Well, when you dig into that, what he's looking at, or what that represents when you put these two things together, is that for the Hebrew, we praise the Most High by looking and being in awe of His commandments, and then they're the authority, right? They're the authority, and we look toward the Most High and His commandment to guide us through our journey through life. So that's kind of like a mini Hebrew word study, which is completely different from what Westerners get from the word praise. So for us, praise, when we praise the Most High, we're keeping His commandments, and we're looking at the commandments as being something spectacular and wonderful, a great gift to us. We're in awe of it, and we follow the Most High by keeping the commandments and through prayer, and He leads us through our journey through life. So that's what it means to us, which is totally not what it means in English.
So it sounds like with the Hebrew text that there are actions to these words. They weren't just something jotted down on paper, but there were actions to follow. And so, like the brother said, when the Most High says, "If you love me, keep my commandments," that part is very important, because He said, "Many of you say you love me with your lips, but your heart is far from it." So the Most High wants more than just us speaking or saying, "I love you." He's saying, if you love me, you're going to prove it by your actions, by what you do and how you live and how you keep my commandments and how you treat one another. And because that very simple lesson is missed, many people have proved that they do not love the Most High.
Yeah, exactly. You know how you can see, sometimes you look at some of the Christian services, and you'll see some pastors are out shouting and praising what they refer to as praise, and they'll praise and everything, right? But then when you look at all of the scandals that are coming forth with some of the Christians and some of the leaders, and it's like, well, you praise them with your lips,
or with your feet and your legs,
with your feet and your hands, but your heart is far from it.
That's right.
Yeah, and you guys are exactly right. The Hebrew, the ancient Phoenician Ibaryath is an action language. Even the nouns have action. The verbs have action, and the nouns have action. So all of our words are action. It's all about doing, and the praise and your heart and all of that kind of stuff that the Christians talk about. That's based upon Greek philosophy. That's the interesting thing about this. When you look at the Hebrew words, the modern Hebrew words, the script is actually not Hebrew at all. It's Aramaic. And the definitions that you find in Strong's and other lexicons, those are all based upon Greek philosophy. There's actually no Hebrew, zero Hebrew in the modern Hebrew, none. And then when we look at Strong's lexicon, there's no Hebrew in that either. So what we're learning to do in this course is to translate from the abstract, that Greek philosophy or Greek way of thinking, back to our ancestors' way of thinking, which is the concrete paradigm. So we're translating backward. And in the end, what will happen once a person becomes literate in the Ibaryath, the Strong's is no longer the go-to tool, because they know the meaning of the characters. They know how to do a Hebrew word study. They have a vocabulary. They have a list of root words and stuff like that that they can refer to, where you're free from Strong's. So the Strong's becomes more of a complement and research tool as opposed to something that we depend on to get our information from.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
Well, so far, what we've seen of what your class teaches is great. And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that there are many who would greatly benefit from what you have offering here. And we thank you all for the feedback from your class as well on what they're learning.
Yes, I was looking through your book. I remember when we first got it in there, I was so surprised. I was like, wow, look at this. I showed it to my wife, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome, And, this, I mean, I really love the way it's even put together, And so it's like a person could actually take this book and learn so much just through this book alone. And so we want our listeners to really take a look at this book. We're going to put it on the screen so you can look at it, and it's really nice. And now, if someone wanted to get this book from you, how would they go about getting it?
They would go to wegotnext.com/products. It's WEGOTNEX. There's no T, so no T. WEGOTNEX.com/products. We offer the book at a significant discount on the website. If you go on Amazon, you're going to pay for the color version. You're going to pay about $39.99. For the black and white version, which is the international version on Amazon, it's going to cost about $34.99. But on our website, you can get the black and white, I think, for $21, and the color you can get for, I think, $28 or $29. I'm not sure. So the price is significantly less if you get it at wegotnext.com/products. WEGOTNEX.com/products. But the book also has 770 vocabulary words. 80 of those words are broken out so that you can understand the phonetic pronunciation.
Okay.
We have 73 vocabulary questions, 66 handwriting exercises, and there's a whole lot more inside of this book. I mean, this book will really get you where you want to go. If you want to learn conversational, Ibaryath, if you want the more technical side where you can do Hebrew word studies and discover the treasures that are locked inside of the Hebrew words, all of this stuff will begin to free you from the Strong's lexicon.
Well, this is a great teaching tool.
Yes.
For anyone wanting to learn more about the ancient language and the ancient text. This is a great tool here. And so for those of you listening, we heard from the brother how you can get in touch with him. And also they are offering classes. I believe he said they're 8 weeks. So if you wanted to get more information on when the next classes will start up, you want to get in touch with him as well. We are thankful to you all for sending us some of these books, and anyone else who is interested in getting them, we will leave links in the description area to make it easier for you to navigate to the brother's website. And so before we close out, we wanted to allow Brother El Yosef to give us some closing remarks. And we thank all of you from your class for joining us here on Watchman reports and redirecting. But we're going to let the brother go ahead and give us some final details on the 911 Ibaryath rescue class.
Okay, thank you, Sister Deborah. Well, the reason why I chose the title 911 Ibaryath rescue is because if you don't know the Paleo Hebrew, you're in a quite urgent situation and you don't know it. And this book can rescue you from that, from being misled by people, especially those people who are involved in Christianity and all of those religions. This can actually help you a lot because this will get you right down to the true meaning that are behind the scriptures. And I guess the other thought that I want to get out is that in our class, if you choose to join the class, we have 2 deliverables. You have to translate the 10 commandments. Translate and transliterate. We teach you how to do that. And then the other deliverable is that you have to translate a chapter in Leviticus. So what we're wanting to produce is literate people who can go back and teach their family and teach other people in our nation our language, because the goal is to get everybody literate in the Phoenician Hebrew. And in that way, we can be a nation in a real sense. And I think we can unify better if we have a language that only we understand and we can speak in front of other people and not worry about them understanding what we're talking about. And
Great.
just before we go, can I ask if Aisha or Vernell want to say anything? They didn't speak. If you guys want to say anything or no? If not, we can go.
Oh, it's fine. I can speak. For me, the class is like speaking or learning. You know, I have a 5-year-old, and a lot of times speaking to him is very simple and concrete. You know, it's like what he sees. His definitions are very, you know. So for me, it's like rethinking as a child. You know, so I enjoy it because it's very it makes a lot more sense. You know, for me in the Black community, I think we use a lot of what Hebrews spoke back then, you know, slang and, you know, idioms and things like that. So it actually makes a lot more sense, but culturally, to how we speak today or how we define things today. So I enjoy the class. It's very simple. And that's about all. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I'll just say I enjoy the fellowship, and I'll reiterate that I just feel it's important for us to learn our original language because just so we can stop inadvertently cursing ourselves with this with the language that was forced upon us. That's about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for those explanations.
I actually just like the way it sounds. It actually sounds really good too when you speak it.
Yeah.
Has a nice little flow to it, you know?
Yes, yes. Well, again, thank you all for joining us, and we enjoyed this fellowship as well, and hearing from all of you about how you like the class, and I'm pretty sure others will be interested in joining you as well. So again, we're going to leave your information in the description area for those who want to join El Yosef's class 911 Ibaryath Rescue. And so thank you all for joining us, and I guess we will close out this broadcast.
Yes.
It's nice meeting all of you as well.
Nice meeting you all.
Yes, nice meeting you guys.
We love your work.
We love your work. We really do. We're supporters.
Well, to y'all be the glory.
Yes,
Thanks to every one of you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, sis,
Yes.
and Brother Watchman. Thank you very much.
Okay. Shalom. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Shalom. Good
Oh.
night.
All right.